The new Galaxy Watch 7s and Ultra just dropped, and you're in awe of the new features of the shiny new watches, while your wrist bears the weight of the Watch 6 or Classic, right? Well, let's talk about that Watch 6 Classic while taking a quick peek into regular 6 as well, and go over why I feel the Watch 7 shouldn't even be that big of a deal for you, considering that you are wearing one of the premium offerings from Samsung even today. Don't believe me? Well, keep watching. The Samsung Galaxy Watch 6 Classic was more of a love letter to the fans of the original Classic series from Samsung. After all, they did let go of the Classic series after Series 4 and they had to bring it back with the 6 because of the hefty demand. And as a result, it also had a hefty price tag and a hefty spec sheet for when it came out mid last year. The fact that it came out last year by itself should tell you that it doesn't warrant a change, but if you need a more in-depth take on what I feel about my 6 Classic and what I think of upgrading to the Watch 7 or the Ultra, then let's go in for a bit of deeper dive. Although I'll be mainly going into the upgrade of the Watch 7, but I will also be touching about the Watch 6 and the Ultra all at the same time. The first thing anyone notices on a watch before they even put it on has to be the design of the watch. I don't know about you guys, but I like to be able to match my watch with my outfits. I like my tech to not only be flashy, but also be able to adapt the flashiness to the occasion. The circular rotating bezel of the Classics definitely adds a look to the watch that I just can't seem to get over. Especially with the silver color, and let's face it, the reason most of you went for a Classic if you own one, and not the standard 6, is because of that rotating bezel itself. The Galaxy Watch 7s don't have a Classic version, and I have no clue why. If it did, this would be a very different video indeed. I just can't get off the fact that looks-wise, the only thing the Watch 7 offers is a new band and a new green and an off-white colorway, while looking like any other standard Galaxy watch that came out before. Also, don't worry, the new watch faces will of course be made available to the 6 Classic and the 6 series, and have no doubt that it'll look miles better on the Classic than it does on the 7 when put on. And of course, for these to actually land on your watch, you can either sideload them, like I did, or you can just wait for the update to drop. If you really want to know how I got these watch faces in my watch, just let me know in the comments down below and I will either make a full video about it or I will just go ahead and upload a short. For me personally, the Watch 6 Classic takes the cake in terms of design any day of the week, especially with its bigger screen size options as well, even compared to the Watch Ultra. I personally prefer a bigger watch, and although my wrist isn't necessarily the most suited for a 47mm size that I have, the smaller 43mm would still be a better pick over what I consider a downgrade with the Watch 7's 40mm offering, while the bigger one only being 44mm, at least in terms of design. If anything, if you want the same size as the 47mm and really want to upgrade, your eye should probably, and already is, on the Ultra that comes out with quite a dent to your pockets even after getting spare change back for your current watch. Don't worry, when the Ultra 2 comes out, this Ultra will be in the same trade-in value position as the 6 Classic is in today. So, that's that. I do like the Watch 6 Classic stainless steel choice over aluminium of the Watch 7s, which would mean that it will hold up better if you use your Watch 6 Classic like Ben Tennyson with the Omnitrix, which of course you can't with the Watch 7 because it lacks the physical rotating bezel and holds a touch capacitive one instead. In regular wear and use, yes, the Watch 6 Classic should be better resistant towards scratches and bumps, but the aluminium build on the 7 makes for a lighter weight than that of the standard 6, let alone the Classic. But luckily, the screen on the 6 Classic, 6 Series, 7, Ultra, even the 5 are all made of the same exact durable sapphire crystal. So, upgrade or not, you're still in the A game with the glass used on these watches. But what if you don't use your watch in a rough way? What if you use your watch casually on a daily basis, take good care of it, and sometimes wear it in the shower or take a swim with it? Well, it's all the same here because no matter the watch, they all come with IP68 water resistance, with the only difference coming with the Ultra, where it can withstand up to 10 atmospheres of pressure, whereas all the others cap out at about 5, which is still insane. You can still be careless with the underwater use of any of these watches and be perfectly fine. It's only if you're about to go deep sea diving is when you might want to take a look into the Ultra, but I'm pretty sure that doesn't even make about 1% of the audience out there. An area where you might be thinking of moving to the Watch 7 could be the battery life, and let's be honest, although the Watch 6 Classic's Bluetooth version lasts longer than the LTE models, The battery life isn't insane by any means. I mean, I can get about 2.5 days and maybe a little bit more change with my Bluetooth 47mm Watt 6 Classic, but if this were the LTE model, this life would be cut short. While I can't give exact metrics on what the battery life is like on the Watt 7, I can take a pretty well-educated guess, and so can you. The Watt 7 has a smaller screen size while having the same battery as the Classics. That is 425 mAh for the bigger sizes while holding 300 mAh for the smaller ones. At this time, you may be inclined to believe that new batteries are not worn off and will last longer, and I feel like this could be headed in a bit of a different way. Samsung introduced a new bioactive sensor that offers 30% more accuracy in the results on the Watt 7, which could mean more battery consumption. By the way, the same sensor is also available on the Ultra. But I am confident in the new One UI for the wearables to have a more optimized take. I would imagine that going by the numbers, screen size, and the AI optimization, that the result will be pretty much on par with the 6 Classic. If it is purely battery life you're after, then of course it goes without saying that the Ultra is more of a consideration with that 590 mAh cell. One more thing to bear in mind in favor of the Watt 7 is the support for 15 watt charging as opposed to the 10 watts on the Series 6. This makes a huge difference as the Watt 7 and the Ultra will now charge 50% faster than its predecessor. If you imagine that the screen on the Watt 7 or the Ultra are better than your current Watt 6 or 6 Classic, then let me tell you now, the screens are exactly the same. They all use the identical 480 by 480 resolution with Super AMOLED display and the same 2000 nits of peak brightness, which, as we all know, is the peak of display tech for watches. It doesn't really get better than this. Where the new watches start to throw some shade on the older versions would be the processing hardware and performance. The newcomers run on a new W1000 processor that boasts 5 cores at a 3nm architecture. That makes the Series 6's 2-core 5nm W930 processor look puny on paper. These new processors will show no change-up, no curveball, nothing but freaking gas on the performance side of things if you are a really heavy user and use a lot of apps on a day-to-day basis. But just keep in mind that just because the Watt 7 is a powerhouse doesn't mean that the Watt 6 isn't. After all, these are all still very strong processors for the kind of hardware that they work on and for the kind of stuff they have to push through on such small devices. Another thing really to bear in mind again is if you don't own a Samsung phone, the new AI features won't really mean much to you because these watches' AI feature set is logged onto the Samsung phones only. So in case you were thinking about getting these watches to use the AI features primarily, but without a Samsung phone, you will be a bit out of luck over there. I personally use my watch as an accessory to my phone as opposed to using it as an entirely different piece of hardware. I use it to send messages, check my notifications, match my drip, track sleep, heart rate, stress, and just general activity analysis. And I'm yet to be in a position where I have wanted more power, but I understand that it could just be me. So if you are looking for more performance out of your Watt 6, maybe the 7 is an upgrade for you, especially if you have a 43mm Classic and want to jump up in size without caring much about the physical bezel as well. By the way, just circling back to the AI features being locked into Samsung devices, to add salt to the burn, you will not be able to use Facer or many of the other third-party watch faces with the new Watt 7s and the Ultra due to your recent policy change from Google. So, for customizability, I think the Series 6 is the best bet at the moment, or until the policy gets removed by Google themselves. Storage might be another worthy reason for an upgrade. With the new watches doubling the storage to 32GB as opposed to the 16 on the Watt 6 series, you will be able to get more watch faces, download more songs, save more pictures, download more apps much more liberally on the new ones. If you're an active person and go out on runs often, the newer watch's dual frequency GPS tracking will pretty much seal the deal with the Watt 7 for you as an upgrade. This calls for a more accurate GPS tracking as compared to the single L1 frequency of the previous models, at least on paper. But I would definitely recommend you go ahead and have a look at my go-to guy for watches, Mike O'Brien, who did a detailed comparison of all the sensors in the new and the old watches, and especially the GPS tracking on these Samsung watches, and came out to a surprising observation. The Watt 6 series was the more accurate among the two Watt series for GPS tracking. Now, I will say that the reason the Watt 7 isn't as accurate as the older Watt 6 and the 6 Classic is because maybe it's just fresh out of the oven and needs to be in there a bit longer to bake to perfection. But anyway, I'll leave a link down below for you guys to check out the video. While the new Wear OS update will come to your 6 Classic, the OS updates were set to stop after 4 years of launch and security updates to stop after 5. This remains the case with the new models as well, so that translates to just 1 extra year of upgrades for the Watch 7 and the Ultra. Your 6 Classic or even the standard 6 will remain a solid player in this King of the Hill match for another few seasons. Personally, I don't think I can stand behind going for the 7 series or even the Ultra at the moment. Even if I can get the Watch 7 at a stellar price, my personal use case isn't nearly as heavy as it should be to feel the need for a change at this time. But I would love to know your thoughts about upgrading from the 6 or even the 5 to the 7. Do you think it's worth it with the same exact software features coming to the 6 and the 5 soon as well? Or is this new sensor and dual band GPS really that big of a deal for you? Or are you more of a processor heavy person with tons of data loaded on your watch to warrant the new processor and maybe the new storage options? Well, let me know. I am curious, and with all that being said, I will catch you guys later.